Hi, here I am again today with another M95 Rucksack. I picked this one up recently. I got it for next to nothing. There are issues with it, and one of the issues was the sticky bolt, and I went through all of that and I cured that. And then the issue that I wasn't told about, and I'll show you that right now. Let's look at this and see what the big problem is with it. Okay, so she comes open easy enough now. That's okay. And I'll put this whole stripper clip in. You can see it's loaded. Watch the problem. Okay, you can see she's closed and in battery. Now, let's see, there we go. Now, you expect to see an extraction, and it doesn't. It does not extract. So we're going to go through why this problem is here, why this doesn't extract, and we're going to fix this rifle so that it is functioning again. So in a moment, I'm going to strip it right down. Actually, that moment will be right now. Shazam! Woo, it's all apart. Okay, here I am with it taken down. And the trigger group, that's it. It's a very simple rifle to disassemble and reassemble. And I have a new ejector. I've already installed it. It's just a little pin that pushes out. You got to watch for the little spring underneath here. Okay, that little spring, it causes this to positively touch the bottom of the bolt. I'm looking at these two. This is the ejector that came out. This is the ejector replacing, and you can see how worn down this one is. It's in, well, it failed to function, and this one now actually functions. You see the two of them side by side? Big difference. So, I've got that out. I'll just put in the trigger group now. I love this little cassette. It really makes this rifle so simple. And this push pin that goes in right here. And there we go. And that's in. And now that's all back together, the next thing to do is to put the rifle back together and check it for function. Starting immediately. Shazam, shazam, as Gomer Pyle used to say. So she's back together again now. Now I'm just going to check the action for function. Woo. Wow, that's smooth, that's beautiful. Okay, from the last video, I smartened up the bolt, and you can see how I did it in the last video. And now the function that was not working on this was the ejector. And I managed to get another ejector. Okay, so now we're going to test it for function. And that's a clip full of the original Spitzer rounds, and I'll just put that in there. There, that's locked in. Now, okay, fed perfectly. Now, let's have a look. That's exactly what it has to do. Okay. So we know that the function has been restored. This gun now ejects, as well as it feeds, as well as this bolt is like ice on a hot skillet. I mean, it is just beautiful. because I re-angled the sear position, the cocking piece, that now when I pull on the trigger, it's 4 pounds. I don't have one of those nice digital units. I've just got the old spring pull one, and I test them, and it's a 4 pound trigger pull on this, and it's beautiful. And with a beautiful bore, and now the whole gun is sorted out, I'm very happy with this one too now. And I'm noticing on the back of the stock here, there's a little crack. And a lot of people will go, oh, the stock is cracked. I have found that what I can do with that is I can put actually crazy glue down there, and get the really runny crazy glue, and just take all the action out and put the really runny crazy glue in there and leave it for 10 minutes, and then this thing will not, the crack will not propagate any further. I mean, it's arrested right there, and this thing is like new again. Did the crack happen because of the power of these rounds? Possibly. But there's no crack down at the bottom here. It's only at the top. So it could be an age-related thing. It could be that this got stored, you know, in somewhere where the wood dried out a little bit. It could be that. I'm noticing that the upper handguard's a little loose, which could suggest that maybe, you know, there changes to the wood due to humidity problems. But it's not going to really hurt this gun. Prolonged use of this stuff would hurt this gun, but if you refer to the previous video, you'll see my suggestions on it and how it makes this gun a beautiful shooter. Of course, the Lee manual, nice book about that thick, that goes into all reloading data, even for this caliber, this rifle. If you follow that reloading data, if you want to shoot full metal jacket, or you want to shoot cast lead, cast lead with a low power, medium power, cast lead that you have to put gas checks on the back of, all of that sort of stuff. You'll find all that reference data in the Lee books. So anyways, one thing I'll point out, and that is, when I first came to know the Steyr rifle in about 1992, I'd read about it in a book that they used to publish called Gun Digest, and it was a book about that thick, and it came out once a year. And they had an article on straight pull rifles, and I read about the Steyr, and a friend of mine who's not with us anymore, but he had a gun store and he was a gunsmith, and I went and asked him about it, and he said, oh yeah, he knew about it. And one thing he said though, people didn't like shooting it, the ammo was awful, and he wasn't going to stock any, you know. So I said, well, could he get them? And he said yes, he could get them, but he had to buy them as a dealer from Century. He'd have to buy them 5 at a time. He said, I sell one to you, and then I've got 4 that will stay on my wall forever. And it's not like he had lots of real estate to display these guns forever and room in the back to keep them. So I said to him, well, what would 5 cost me? And he said, I'll bring them in for you at cost if you pay for them right now. And I said, okay, what's cost? He said, $40 each. How can you turn that one down? So I paid $200 in tax, and about a week and a half later, he called me up. They're in, and I went down and got them. And the first one, like this is now, beautiful bolt, just glides so nicely, you know. But the trigger was a little heavy, but you know, it was really nice. The next ones, not so much. And then I noticed that when I take the bolts out and the bolt heads would flip around, the first one that didn't flip around, but the other ones did. And so I started looking into it, and I guess in about a week, I had all 5 guns all smoothed up, all slick, all nice, sweet triggers, the whole works. And I was, really impressed. And I went and I asked him, and I said, how come there would be such a variance in quality? And he told me that at Century, what they had kind of told him was that due to the Bill Clinton gun ban things that he brought in, and these could not come in as complete guns. They had to come in as parts. So they took the bolts out. And now these guns, got to remember, they were all arsenal refinished and kept in optimal storage condition when they were discovered and sold. And for the sake of argument, we'll say Century Arms brought over 1,000 of these in. Probably between 1,000 and 10,000. I don't know the number. And they had to take the bolts out of each gun, throw them in a bucket, and put the guns in a crate and bring them in as gun parts. And once they got to Vermont, they had to be tattooed underneath the muzzle with St. Albans, Vermont, and then the whole thing of putting the bolts in the guns. And that's where this bolt got its electro-penciling on the back here at Century Arms to the serial number on the actual gun. So they grabbed 10, and let's say they had 10 guys working in the warehouse. Okay, and 10 guys grabbed 10 bolts, grabbed 10 guns, lay them out on the table. And they write down on a piece of paper the gun numbers, the last 3 numbers, and hand them over to Bob. Bob's got the electrical pencil. Maybe Bob and Sarah both are on electro pencil duty that day. And they go, okay, this bolt, 5, 8, 9. Okay, this bolt, 6, 2, 6. Okay, this bolt. And then, John, your bolts are ready. Okay. And bing, they went together. They went on the rack. And they went up for sale. And so they were all mismatched. The bolts originally didn't have a serial number, so mating the right bolt to the right gun, that was going to be a tremendous nightmare. And so that's what they did. I think, and this is my opinion, that most of these guns have mismatched bolts. Of all the ones that I've fired over the years with full power ammo and my own reloaded ammo, I've not seen case bulging or massive brass flow up around the neck area, or any problems like that. So I would say that by miracle all the head spacings were correct. But the guns themselves are mismatched. That's why over the years I've run into so many of these that have the lock problem on the extractor extension back in here, so that they don't lock the bolt head, and other things just aren't working. This one, I have to admit, is the first time I've seen a worn out ejector. That's a first for me. So I didn't I couldn't tell that was a problem when I picked this up. No one said anything. It's just I got it home and felt the shitty action, said I know what to do, and got that all done. And then I checked the function for picking up around and ejecting. And you saw at the beginning of this video, that's what it would not do. So no wonder people got pissed off with this rifle and thought it was a piece of shit. and how I got it so reasonably. That's another M95 video in the saga of tuning your M95s. You have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, thank you. Bye now.